Okay, without further ado, Miroslav Kolzer.
Thank you very much, Mark. So, dear colleagues, friends, it's a pleasure to be with you on this ECOS community call. ECOS is one of my favorite communities and really, in my understanding, a key element on the pathway towards a climate-safe future. And I will present to you today the multi-stakeholder partnership GloCha and its work in the field of citizens and youth empowerment for climate action in the run-up to COP26. First, a brief background about my person. I'm Miroslav Polzer. I'm based in Klagenfurt in Austria. I'm the founder and executive director of IAAI. It's a civil society organization headquartered in Klagenfurt, accredited to the United Nations through the Economic and Social Council, the Department for Global Communication, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and we have also observer status with the Green Climate Fund. And the full name is International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges. And the name already expresses our mission. We want to really get the global community responding better to challenges like climate change. And I'm also the one of the founders of GloCha Foundation New York. And GloCha is the multi-stakeholder partnership which we are setting up as an institutional ecosystem where all the different stakeholders, individual youth and youth organizations, United Nations programs, local authorities, academia, and everybody else can work on innovative solutions for multi-stakeholder climate action and sustainable development in general. I'm also one of the founding members of ECOS back in 2016. I've helped Mark to get the meeting room for the morning meetings of, at that time, eCongo, and also for having some other tech support. And I'm also founding member of the Climate Chain Coalition, which is a network of 200 organizations which look on how to use blockchain technology and other digital innovation solutions for enhanced climate action. And so what are we doing now in a little bit more detail? So our mission is to create a community and a partnership of people and institutions who care for people and planet, who take impactful action towards local and global public good, and who manage resources sustainably towards a good life for all. And our pillars are culture, and especially music, technology, especially blockchain, and organizational innovation, where we are setting up on the institutional innovations on the global level, but also on the local level, globally with the Global Challenges Foundation New York, and locally with GloCha centers, Global Challenges centers, which provide physical space and knowledge and access to technology and funding for youth and other stakeholders to work on sustainable development solutions and climate action nurtured by global community, and you will hear more about it later. So, as I said, we work on empowerment of multi-stakeholder climate action, and here a key resource is knowledge, and therefore we were very happy about the contact and the cooperation with Mark, which started in December 2015 and then led in September 2016 to the setting up of eCongo, Education, Communication, Outreach NGOs group, which is now the ECOS community. And here we have a photo from an IAAI side event at COP22 about financial, technical, and institutional support for scaling up youth climate action, at that time with Climates and Climates International, and also with Tim Damon as a moderator, and who is also very active now in ECOS. And this was the first time when ECOS, at the time eCongo, was presented to the global public. And we are now working with GloCha on a new narrative for global climate action. And this new narrative is needed because we see that the climate crisis is deteriorating. You have here an image of the weather anomalies globally in the last year. And it's obvious the temperature is rising, extreme weather events are rising, and even the CO2 concentrations are rising. Despite the fact that we are already deep in a crisis, it's still going up as if there would be no response of global community. We are happy and we love the UN and the UNFCCC and COPs, or especially the COP21 and the Paris Agreement, but it's not really translating into action. And even the youth on the streets, which is now also very difficult in times of COVID-19, and despite also the great efforts to give young people opportunities for participation in the UNFCCC process led by our friend Adriana Valenzuela and others, it is really not, we are not there where each person, especially young person, could say, yes, I'm leading the lifestyle that the world needs to achieve the Paris Agreement and climate neutrality. As the Paris Agreement says, we want to become climate neutral by 2050. It is an ambitious goal, but requiring deep societal and economic transformation. But this kind of goals only can be implemented if the individual citizen is really convinced of this goal and is also committing individually to this climate neutrality goals. And we have to provide engagement opportunities and support structures that will help the individual on this pathway. And for instance, we have there from the UNFCCC the climate pledge, where individuals are asked to become climate neutral, promising to do the best to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, and to working also in friends and communities towards these goals and to offset these kind of things. But only 5,000 people have signed the pledge, and this shows that really our global goals don't translate into individual goals and individual action, and therefore it's not functioning. The world is not functioning. We have now the Race to Zero campaign of the UNFCCC and the COP26 presidency, which rallies leadership and support from businesses, cities, regions, investors for a healthy, resilient, zero carbon recovery. But again, here we don't see an entry point for the individual and for youth. And so this is a gap which we want to address with GloCha and beyond. We are setting now up youth and individual citizens climate action empowerment consortium that you will hear about later, which shall be then also a partner for Race to Zero and develop the necessary tools and engagement opportunities. So we need a new social contract. We need a new narrative that brings all the relevant players from the local level, but also global level, together on this climate action goals, and really defining who contributes what, who empowers whom, and what kind of outcomes we want through this local and global cooperation. And the key message is that we don't need to wait for the United Nations or any distant international organization to solve the problem. It starts with me. The individual needs to look to aim for climate neutrality, and if enough individuals will do this, all the above structures will also start functioning and somehow migrating towards these climate neutrality goals. And we need, one of the narratives is also we need to create climate action communities, because the individual is weak, but if the individuals work together as a community, then very much is possible. And this is also something that inspired somehow the European Climate Pact, and there's also an area where I see great learning potentials for the global climate action governance to learn from the European Climate Pact and European Green Deal implementation, where there are really big efforts to develop the engagement opportunities and tools for different stakeholder groups, but also for youth, for the individual pledges, and for schools and everybody else. And so the message that I have also as a member of the Climate Change Coalition is that blockchain technology is now a game changer, which can enable new forms of cooperation of these local and thematic communities that I've mentioned, and also new incentive mechanisms. And if this really supports this new narrative of it starts with me, I don't need to say anymore I'm too weak or it's too complex. With there are the necessary technological tools, and it's possible really for an individual and its local and thematic communities to have an impact, and therefore we have to go all for climate neutrality. And the message is also that certified climate neutral lifestyle is possible, or if not calling it climate neutral lifestyle, we are thinking now also of using the term good life, that climate friendly lifestyle where people of course have a carbon footprint. You cannot have live without having a carbon footprint, but by investing enough in the communities and by sharing resources, enabling present and future generations, disadvantaged people to cope with the negative consequences of one's carbon footprint, a good life is possible. And for this, we are planning also with UNESCO MOST, Management of Social Transformation Program, in September, a conference about what is a good life in times of climate emergency. And we need really to develop also new standards, ethical standards, lifestyle standards for low carbon lifestyles. And here, that's also something that the individual needs, a benchmark and an orientation. Where am I standing with my carbon footprint and with my efforts? Is it enough, or should I aim higher? And so another area to do. A big part of this new generation of global cooperation is this digital innovation part, and with the Climate Change Coalition and the digital innovation community within the UNFCCC process that we have helped set up in December last year in Madrid at the COP25. We are working on a digital Pact app and individual climate action dashboard platforms and apps, digital climate action communities, and citizens climate action outcome certification, digital finance. And with Yale Open Innovation Lab, we are working on a multi-stakeholder climate action tracking and accounting system based on blockchain and in connection with the UNFCCC non-state actors zone for climate action, global climate action data portal. And we need to develop also a global digital climate action reporting language, which uses digital identities, localization data, unique object identification, unique resource identification, unique outcome identification, because based on this kind of language, we then really can create incentive mechanisms and tracking and certification mechanisms that will really make the global community functioning, and each contribution towards our collective climate goals, that it will be recognized, registered, and rewarded. And so the future, as we see it, is that the future of global climate action is that there will be a digital climate pact app and dashboard on everyone's mobile devices. And this aim and this effort towards individual and local communities, climate neutrality, will be some kind of digital badges collection game, and also a standard. And how this such a Pact app could look like, or an individual dashboard, there can be of course, the isolated solution where the individual who does not want to engage with others or share any data just makes the pledge. So if you make the pledge, the first badge turns green with some specification of is it in the context of the climate pledge of the UNFCCC, is the European Climate Pact, or is it a city level climate neutrality pledge? And then second information is about what is the community in which I want to implement this neutrality, and then some action log. But this individual solution is not really exciting. The social energy is missing, and it has also limited impact. So the second level of this is, and you see ECOS has been already on this slide before, when I talked about community. So we have to embed the individual climate action efforts in communities, and for this we can work with open badges. And this is some new technology-based recognition of learning efforts or of civic engagement efforts. And here the individual will specify with SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals, individual goals, and then also specify with digital links, personalized community badges, thematic challenges, or location-based communities. And then the individual can create a selfie badge specifying what he or she is doing for the climate, and also specifying the outcomes, and also saying there is a recognition mechanism that there will be data about and evidence about these activities really having been taken, and the members of the community will recognize it. But so it's somehow bottom-up developed by the different communities, the standards for recognition of efforts. And but still a problem of such a second generation solution is that it's not really an international standard, and outcomes will not be recognized across the boundaries of these communities. And therefore we are working, the vision is to develop a Web3 community, a digital climate pact platform, which would be based on a global ecosystem of technological and non-technological infrastructure, interoperability standards, digital identity management, digital finance, smart contracts, and collective decision-making for trusted and accountable multi-stakeholder climate action. There would be then unique badges that could be created for individual action, and it could be also crypto stamps and collectibles as a way to mobilize resources and to compensate for an individual carbon footprint by buying crypto stamps, and the resources from these crypto stamps are then channeled towards the local and thematic communities, where in a collaborative blockchain-based or DAO, decentralized autonomous organization-based decision-making, collaborative decision-making structure, the resources would be allocated to the most appropriate impactful actions. And again, digital measurement, reporting and verification, smart standards, certification, and global registration of climate action activities, and attribution of outcomes to the ones who contributed. This will really be the game changer, where then all of society will start to function and will be rewarded, and will be also great opportunities for gamification. So to work on these solutions, to get everybody empowered and engaged in climate action, we have proposed in a webinar which has been held on the 8th of June this year during the June Momentum event series of the UNFCCC and the launch of the Race to Zero campaign, we said, let's have a first We the People COP. Let's come together on several locations, multi-location, virtual meetings, but with a global vision that we really connect all those solution providers, the non-state actors who are working on non-state actors, climate action mobilization, and let's keep up the momentum. Let's showcase our solutions and look for synergies and inspire one another. And this idea is also related to the digital COP26 pavilion, which has been generated already in December last year, and also discussed with ECOS as an area of potential cooperation, that we create new forms of engagement for youth and in general non-state actors in the UNFCCC process. Because there's these COPs, conferences of parties, they are deciding about the future of humanity. And this is a privileged group of, let's say, 20, 30, 40,000 people, and all those without accreditation, and those are standing at the fences, and especially young people have been very outspoken in Madrid, and there were some clashes with the official structures because it's these COPs are deciding the future, and 99.9% of global society are left out. So we have to use digital innovation to make COPs more inclusive. And we have had already very good conversations with the COP26 presidency of the UK. They are also committed to an all of society COP26, and they want to harness the potentials for digital innovation. We are exploring how we can work together. We've shared our ideas with them, and they said in about a month or so they will come back to us. And a special thrust or somehow framing of our work is now something that we have communicated to the UNFCCC Secretariat on the 18th of July, only a few days ago, after a side event that we've had in the context of the UN High-Level Political Forum 2020. And we've had Matthew Phillips from the UNFCCC Race to Zero campaign and the NASCA portal with us, and he said that they would be very happy to see young people engaged in the Race to Zero and in climate action in general, not only as advocates, but also as actors, as the ones who lead climate action and who innovate climate action. And so we said, okay, we are now setting a Citizens and Youth Climate Action Empowerment Consortium, and we are offering to the Race to Zero campaign that this is an initiative which will be the contact point and the data collection mechanism for individuals and especially youth to communicate what they are doing for climate ambition mobilization in the context of Race to Zero campaign, and also with the perspective that once we are ready, we will also be communicating or reporting data on individual climate action to the NASCA portal. And because it's there's no reporting framework, there are no real standards for individual climate action reporting, we've spoken with UNESCO MOST and some other partners that we will make organize a Youth Climate Action Leadership Award, where we will ask young people in an open format or in the open selfie badges format to report what they are doing for climate action. And then, of course, having some decision-making process to identify the most inspiring ones. But from the data that we'll get from this experimentation, that we will also analyze and try to create an overview, really a categorization and taxonomy and ontology of individual climate action and its outcomes. Because we need, there's really a big lack of research and and understanding and structure in the organization of and support of individuals and youth climate action. And with such a pilot with a Youth Climate Action Leadership Award, we think that we will get some knowledge, and we hope that our UNESCO partners will be able to connect us with researchers or PhD students also who would want to really work on structuring this field, because young people want to take action, but everything is too complex. But if we can really have simple tools and simple suggestions, and also artificial intelligence supported decision support systems and tools that will tell people, if you are here and you have this kind of resources or circumstances, we recommend you this kind of action, and usually this leads to this kind of outcomes, and this will then make the measurement, reporting, verification, certification, and global registration more easy. And this should then also be brought into schools. If one idea is now to have this issuance of crypto stamps, it could be some kind of youth empowerment crypto stamp, and individuals can buy it to offset their carbon footprint. Let's say 1 ton of an individual carbon footprint costs 50 euros. And we could also, have the idea to issue also a crypto stamp worth 1 million euro, and asking philanthropy resource holders to demonstrate some kind of leadership. And then these crypto stamps and these digital tools allow that they then decide towards which local or thematic community these resources from the purchase of the crypto stamp will be directed. And in this community, there's then another decision-making process, a participatory, where the local people, experts, youth leaders, and so, they can really look on how to make the best use of these new forms of resources, and really channeling it towards youth climate action, especially to have really this empowerment of youth climate action, because youth climate action is so important, but nobody gives a young person anything usually for engaging for the climate, and this needs to be changed. And with these digital tools that we are working on, we think we can do it. One area that is also very interesting is citizen science, and we are working with UN Environment, the World Environment Situation Room. You could also hear Alexander Caldas on our webinar, which was on the 26th of June, about all of society digital innovation for youth engagement in global goals and climate action. There he said that they want to get young people engaged in global environmental crisis response information system. And it's also an interest, as I said, we love knowledge, and engaging youth in knowledge generation about actual status quo and challenges in our communities will really help the world very much to understand better the climate crisis and to have early warning and everything. So, message of GloCha: we don't need to wait for governments. There's so much that non-state actors can do to coordinate and incentivize multi-stakeholder climate action. Let's start the journal. Let's organize in communities. Let's join forces. Let's convene in November 2020 for the first WeThePeopleCOP, or however we will frame it. And I hope to work with many of you on this thing. There's Eileen on the call with the climate hacks, which is already a very powerful or very much aligned approach to what we are doing. We need to give the youth in the cities, in the local communities around the world, the knowledge and the digital tools that they can take action and document it and really be then rewarded for it. And there's also Frank with the digital bridge, corporate bridge, that we will also connect with for the November activities, and much more. And Mark's the power of 10 approach is also very relevant. I also believe that it is in local communities that climate action, impactful climate action and sustainable resource management takes place, and we need to empower it, because we are not functioning as a global community yet, but we need to. It is a matter of survival. And with this, I give back to Mark.